Based on the feedback, it seems as though A Touch of Flair lecture left some people considering what else might be done with the perspective file. And so based on the feedback, I thought I'd go ahead and add a new lecture in here after that one, which talks in a little bit more depth about perspective. Now what I have here is a new map called Advanced Flair. What I did was I went to this dialog. I made a copy of first Kumu and called it Advanced Flair. You notice there's a duplicate button on whichever one's selected. And then I went over and made a duplicate of default perspective and called it Advanced Flair and assigned that as the default to this map so that whatever I do here won't mess up any of the other maps and perspectives in this set. Now, in the perspective itself, whatever it is that you define using the element and connection wizards and the filters, it simply writes code into the CSS file, and the CSS file is processed sequentially. So the definitions that are put at the beginning may in fact be overwritten later. So in this definition it says for all elements the size is 40, but then down here it says for element type of animal the size is 30, so that you can see that the element size here is not 40, it's 30, and then the element size for the type food is 15, so that they're even smaller and they're a different color. So it processes them in sequence. Now, in terms of what you can do with the perspectives for a particular map, if you click on Help and then go to the Kumu help file, in the guide section there are 3 pages on perspectives, basic, and each one of these talks about what you can do with perspectives in a bit more detail, and it provides some examples. And each one of them sort of travels a bit deeper down the rabbit hole in terms of the advanced nature of the things that you can do with a perspective. The difficulty is, well, maybe you're better than I am, but I can't remember all this stuff. After working with Kumu for a year, there are a few of the options that I use on a repeated basis, maybe like 5% of all of the ones that are available. And when I find that I really want to do something, I have to go to the reference pages and see and look up, how do I go about doing this? And here under references, there's a CSS property reference, which lists for elements, connections, and loops all of the different properties that you can assign values to in the perspectives file. And you can tell by looking at this that there's just way too much to remember, and there are new ones being added as the developers are coming across things that it seems appropriate to add, so that I don't believe that this file at the moment is really complete. Now, as I said, I can't remember all this stuff, and if you can, more power to you. What happens is there are certain ones that I use on an ongoing basis, like size and color and things that I remember because I have actually used them. I have put them in there over and over again. What my advice to you is, when you find, well, as you look at other people's models, which I encourage you to do on an ongoing basis, because there's just so much that you can learn about tricks of the trade, things that other people have figured out, that if you look at someone else's model, like this one, which is I don't know, which one was this? The Ice Bucket Challenge, I think. If you look at this, you'll notice that the connections seem to have the color from what they're connected to in a different sort of way, so that this is a green connection, a green element, which ends up having a green connection but then the color changes, and then that color changes, and so the question is how they do that. Well, anytime you're looking at someone else's model, if you just do an Alt-S, it will show you the perspective file for that model, and you can look through it and notice that it says here, it says connection size for curvature is 0, that's why the lines are straight. The color is inherit, so that it takes the color from what it's connected to, and the opacity is 1. So let me go ahead and select this, copy it, and I'm going to go back here to Advanced Flair and stick it in right here, paste it in, save changes, and notice that now the connections are colored, starting with the color that they start at and ending with the color that they're connected to, which is a really nice flare. And I'm still not going to remember how to do this, but I probably have a crib sheet someplace of things that I've run across before that I think, oh well, that's neat, I'll probably use this again. So I'll sort of build a library of things that I find that I think are neat and that I'll use again. And so I recycle things that I find that look meaningful. And some of them I still don't think I understand. Element video views less than scale. I'd have to go ahead and look at the attributes for this model to figure out what they're doing there, but it has something to do with the attributes and this value, so that it's scaling the sizes of the elements based upon that attribute. So the extent of what it is that you can do with perspectives is literally amazing. Far too much to remember. What's best to remember is how to go find those pages in the help file, which can be useful to some extent, and the reference page. And when you find something that has aspects of it that are interesting, that you can use Alt-S to look at the perspectives page for that particular model. And when you find things that you like, keep a crib sheet. When you find things that you think are interesting and you don't quite understand what it means, do the same thing I do. Ask questions. Post a question to the course and we'll figure out what it means and post it so that other people can benefit from the learning that goes on an ongoing basis. So hope you found this informative and responds a little bit to the question about an additional level of flair beyond what it is that you can do with the wizards for decorate element, decorate connections, and the filters themselves. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.